how the lack of creation and overconsumption is inhibiting you from progressing in your life. Welcome back to the channel of Anti-Scrolling. On here, twice a week, I'm going to be posting long, value-packed lessons. If you're interested in improving your life, favorite them, save them, watch them later, listen to them on the train, on the bus, in the car, on the way to work, on the way to school, whatever it is. Let's get into this. So, all right, creation versus consumption. So, before we get into any of that, actually, first and foremost, we need to understand what comes underneath those two topics, right? So we got creation and we got consumption. So let's look at creation first. Creation as creativity and creating. Stereotypically or instinctively, you might think, okay, creating something, so creative, like drawing, creating a new idea, creating a product, creating a model bus, stuff like that, right? Which is incorrect, by the way, and very, very limited examples of what really comes under the bracket of creation. We're going to get into that. Then when we look at consumption, similarly, just like creation, there's a long list of things you'd stereotypically associate with that. For consumption, most people are going to think food, right? Or in the modern day, maybe social media. So you consume food and you consume content. Again, these are very, very surface level examples of what is in fact a much broader spectrum of things that in fact all fall under creation and consumption. Actually, absolutely everything on this earth is either created and or consumed. Somebody created that chair. If I sat on it, I'd be consuming it. That would be my consumption as a buyer, as a user. That's consuming. Someone designed it, they're the creator. I created this social media content that you're watching, and you guys and my other viewers and followers consume it. You are consuming it currently by watching it. Somebody creates our favorite TV shows when we consume them as viewers. When you're texting someone, you are creating those texts that you're sending to that person. They are consuming what you've written, the information you've provided them in those texts. When you go grocery shopping, you create the grocery list, the shopping list that you need, and then in the shop you consume it and take action in the shop. So, what the bloody hell is bro yapping about? Those are really, really important things to understand in order to understand the rest of the lesson and the way it ends up eventually directly impacting your reality. So the main thing to understand at this point is one phrase. Remember this now and forever. Our thoughts dictate our reality. Just bear that in mind for this lesson, and without getting too philosophical or too voodoo-y about it, all that phrase essentially means is we are going to act as humans based on how we see things in our head, how we think, our perception of things. Two people can see the exact same thing and think differently about that exact same thing, and therefore act differently, those two people, because they think differently and therefore create two completely different individual realities from the very same situation. So as a brief example, so you can understand exactly what I'm talking about, let's just go up here in the corner. Okay, over here, we're going to go for person C, all right? And then we've got person A and person B. Now, person A and B know each other. Person C, they don't know person C, okay? So person C is the new friend. These two people are meeting this person C. Person A and person B are meeting person C for the first time ever. If person A, based off his life that he has personally lived and based off his personal experiences, his traumas, all the rest of it, right? If he thinks, according to all his past experiences, that people are just out to get him, that people are snakes, that they will, they always have bad intentions, they're always trying to screw you over. If his head is filled with that, he will act on that towards person C, because in his head it's, oh, you're another new person, all the people I already do know are like that, so he's already got those presuppositions about person C. Then if we've got person B is open-minded, open to potential friendships, open to new experiences, and even if he also has had really bad experiences, by the way, with people in the past, he will channel these thoughts and his perception into a completely different direction than person A, and therefore create a completely different reality to person A. Even if this new friend, person C, says the exact same things and is the exact same person, behaves the exact same way to A and B, these two, because of their thoughts, will perceive this new person in a completely different way. They will act accordingly and therefore create a totally different reality. Now, when I give you a basic trivial example like that, I'm very well aware it's very obvious, and you might be watching this thinking, right, you haven't really told me anything. Obviously, if one person is an asshole to this person and the other person is nice to that person, there's going to be two completely different scenarios. It's not that deep, right? Here's what I say to that. First of all, as a general rule of life, one person, one line, or 5 seconds of time has the ability to completely change the course of your life by ripple effect. That's as a rule. Second of all, when you understand that our days, those 24 hours we have every day, which a lot of people just watch fly by as if they're nothing, by the way. Every single one of those days is one big folder of thousands, potentially tens of thousands of different scenarios of which we have a certain perception and therefore act on it. Imagine how many of your supposedly not that deep thoughts and consequential actions are compounding and accumulating and manifesting as your reality that you, I don't know your personal situation, might not like, or you might like. Your reality today, the life you're living, is a consequence of a bunch of things you have done intentionally and a bunch of things you haven't had the control over. Now, we'll get into that, so let's slow down a bit. Now, where does this all link back to what I was talking about earlier with consumption, my original opening thing, right? The creation and consumption thing we were speaking about. Now that we know that our actions are dictated by our thoughts, we need to work out where do our thoughts come from. Well, here's where it gets fascinating and tricky. Our thoughts are dictated by, let me use a different color, you guessed it, what we consume. But, of course, you can change your thoughts, otherwise people would just think the exact same things if they've had the same experiences. But the initiation of it and what direction our brains go towards, which is what we're going to focus on right now, that part is entirely based off what we consume. So, I know, getting slightly complicated, just bear with me, it's going to make perfect sense, right? Let's look at the topic of consumption properly, okay? Big, nice purple highlight around the word consume, okay? Consumption. The four biggest things that we as humans consume in our lives on a day-to-day basis that dictate our thoughts from the moment we are born to the moment we die are, number one, our upbringing. So, what we watch on a day-to-day basis, what morals are installed into us, who do we watch as our main role models, what do we get taught as children. Number two, our circle, so extended family. Then for 99% of people, it's the school system growing up, so friend groups, which you land on by pure chance, by the way. Then it's the teachers and the extended affiliates, the cousins, etc. And then when you grow up, it's your work colleagues, your partner. Lots of people spend their lives with a toxic partner. The in-laws, then your children. Remember, even if you're 30, 40, 50, 60, hell, you might be 70 or 80, you end up with children and grandchildren, and those children and grandchildren are a result of the parenting you've given. And this is all under the bracket of consumption. All the things our brain is constantly taking in. Okay, you understand? So that's our circle, the people we have around us, what opinions we listen to, what kind of traditions we've built up with, you get the point. Number three, food, massive one. And number four, in the modern day life, especially important, social media and general entertainment. Those are the four biggest influences of our thoughts through our entire lives. Those are the things we consume all day, every day for our entire existence. Now, the important thing to note from those four, I just realized I haven't written them down. Do you know what? Let me write them down so you guys can have it on the screen. Can we see it down here? This is a good little box. Okay, things we can consume. Little arrow here. So we got number one. Let me go on my knees. Pause. We're going to say some great writing, upbringing. Okay, then we've got our circle, friends, family, in-laws, children, etc., etc. Then we've got our food. Nice, easy one to write. And at number four, we've got socials / entertainment. Okay, what podcasts do you listen to? Who are your favorite influencers? What kind of content do you get on your For You page, etc., etc. Now, the most important thing to note from these four, the one thing they all have in common, is that growing up as children, none of these things we can control. Actually, we can't control 99% of things as a child. You can't control your parents or your upbringing. You can't choose what you eat. What mummy puts in front of you, you're going to eat it whether you like it or not. If you're lucky, it happens to be a lot of healthy cooked food. If you're unlucky, mummy's taking you to McDonald's all the time. Let's say if you grow into your sort of 12, 13, 14, 15 and onwards, you go into secondary school, you start picking from the shops and sort of deciding what you eat. Then you come home, you get a bit of leeway in the kitchen in terms of what you're allowed to eat. But generally speaking, children don't choose what they want to eat, and they end up going towards eating patterns that they've picked up from their parents as infant, as actual, you know, full-on children, 4 or 5-year-olds. So we've said upbringing, food, circle. You also can't choose that. You don't choose your cousins. You don't choose your parents. You don't choose your siblings. You don't choose your friends. You can choose, but you have to choose from a select few that you'll be given. So for most of you, it's going to school. You've got a class of 30 of which you choose your favorite 5 or 6, and you create your friend group. So you can choose from what you're given. The point is, it's purely down to chance. If you're lucky, you can get a great set of boys that you'll be friends with and keep in contact with for the rest of your life. If you're unlucky, you're not going to keep in contact with a single person from that class as soon as you leave secondary school. Then in fourth place, we've got socials and entertainment, right? So the TV, the movies, the social media, what is generally watched in the house? What do your parents, what kind of political narrative do they talk about? What do you watch on TV? How much news is on the TV? How much radio do you listen to? None of that you control as a child. Now, with those uncontrollable variables, probably of which I would say the most important are your upbringing and your food, right? Who are your parents? What morals are installed into you? And what are you consuming? So your health. Now, unfortunately, as a consequence of the fact that they are uncontrollable variables, comes with a lot of misfortune. Excuse me. Lots of children are dealt very bad cards, right, from the day they're born. Poverty, evil, bad parents, neglected upbringings, zero attention to health in the house. So, when you understand that, the question you might be asking is, if I have to consume these things and I don't have a choice on what parents I get, what financial upbringing I have, how on earth do I not end up permanently damaged, right? Because of course these things either improve our lives or damage us. And I've just told you that these four you can't control. So your question might be, how on earth do I not end up completely messed up if I get really bad cards in all four categories? And to be frank, there's no beating around the bush. The answer is some people do. Some people end up permanently damaged. Some people don't have nice upbringings. They aren't taught good morals. They don't eat good food and they don't watch good social media and entertainment. They don't have good circles. That is a fact. That is simply a fact as a species that we cannot change. It's very sad. But the next question to ask, which is the big question and brings me very close to the summary and value to take from this video, that question is, so as a viewer, if I was watching this lesson, I would ask, so are you telling me that I have absolutely no choice but to be damaged if I've been dealt bad cards? The answer to that is no. It happens, but it doesn't have to. That's not to say you might have a tougher time changing your life if you are one of these people that's been dealt really bad cards from young. But for everyone, you can change your reality. Now, whether it's harder for some, less for some, easier for some, I don't know, okay? Some would argue that everyone has their problems and it all kind of balances out. Others would say they have it much tougher. Many people out there have it much tougher. I would say both probably have reasonable arguments. I don't really know. I can't give a conclusion on that, but what I do know is I don't need to know in order to teach the value from this lesson, which we are about to get into. What I want to absolutely emphasize is that regardless of the scale of your problems and things that you have been through, experienced, consumed, as we say, regardless of the cards you've been dealt, you absolutely can change your reality. It's never too late, and you do, as an individual with nothing but your brain, possess the power to design yourself and create a new reality. Which brings me on to my 4-step process right here. So, everything starts with consumption. As I said, the 4 biggest being our parents and upbringing, our circles growing up, social media and food, okay? 4-step process. Just so you guys can see, we got number 1 there. Let me write in red because that's what the original, because that's the original color I used. We got 3. I made that look worse. That was really unnecessary. I made it worse. Right, we got number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. In number 2, we've got conditioning. What is conditioning? Conditioning is the subconscious reprogramming that happens inside our brain when we consume things. Now, lots of big fancy words. Put simply, if I listen to my mum or my dad or my brother or anyone in close proximity of my life talk every single day about how it's great for men to cry, just as a random example, after 15 years of that, I'll probably be pretty conflicted about that topic and messed up. It doesn't necessarily mean I'll end up agreeing. That depends on whether I value, if I rate the opinion of those people who've been saying that. So put simply again, little subtopic, if I like my mum and I like my brother and I like my dad, if I'm close with them and they say for 15 years straight that it's great for men to cry, by the time I'm 20, I'm gonna believe that in myself. If I don't, that's where it gets interesting. If I don't like my mum or my dad or my brother and they tell me my whole life for 15 years that it's great for men to cry, in the back of my mind, I will know that's my blood family. So there's always a percentage of trust you cannot cut off. But if I don't like them, I'm not going to want to believe them. That causes conflict. And what happens with conflict, I start playing with things in my head. Thoughts. Okay? So it's a silly example, but just so you understand the concept. So for 15 years, I've been consuming from my mum, my dad, and my brother that that it's great for men to cry. That's been conditioning me by listening to it over and over because I've been listening and my brain's trying to work it out, like whether I believe this or not. Then other sort of factors like whether I like those people or not contribute to what thoughts I end up having in my brain. Okay, now this is the final stage here. The part I act on and how I make my final thought and decision and decided take on that topic is entirely down to me. And whatever I end up deciding on will create my reality. And that happens here. This is where we create, where this little red arrow is. So what's interesting is that despite the fact that all of us can consume terrible things growing up, so our upbringing, we can have horrible parents, we can have family tragedies, household tragedies, you can have traumatic experiences, you can watch terrible social media growing up, you can eat terrible food and your health can suffer. But our ability to change our reality regardless of what state it is in now or was, what we as individuals have consumed our entire lives, is entirely dependent on our ability and level at which we critically think to create a new one. This is a skill that is trained and one that is massively neglected by 90% of people. And this brings me perfectly on to the importance of creation and the damages of the lack of it in the average person's life today. So, right here, okay, the amount of times I've circled this thing, it's massive. I talk about it all the time on this channel for good reasons. So, right here, after we've had our upbringing and terrible experiences, or good, sorry, let's just say past experiences, it can be bad or good, whatever we've been consuming, regardless of your age, after it's changed what's in our heads, after it's given us these thought initiations, we must empty our minds, assess whatever it is that's going on inside our heads, think with composure, understand what effects these thoughts are having on us, and create new thoughts in order to change our reality. The biggest problem in people's lives in the modern day world is the lack of creation. Why does everyone lack creation, you might ask? Because we are engulfed in consumption. I'm going to show you on the board. Think about the average person. When I talk about consumption, I don't even think I've properly got it across to you guys in this video how much we consume. You consume a routine. The school routine. Most people work a 9 to 5. You're consuming what your boss's orders. It's all consumption. It goes so deep. Lots of people go to the gym. They haven't created a workout. They go to the gym and consume what machines are there and pick and choose and come up with something on the spot based off what that gym has created, provided. They consume it. People come home from their 9 to 5, walk into a shop like Sainsbury's or Asda, walk through the shelves and pick something off the shelf. Consume what the corporation has created for them. It's all consumption. People hardly cook anymore. People hardly capable of taking initiative to create gym routines for themselves. Daily routines. If you have a 9 to 5, when it hits the weekend, most people don't know what to do with themselves. Children, when they come off school, they go into half term, summer holiday. I wish I could copy and paste my brain the opportunity you have in those 6 weeks of summer holiday or 2 weeks at half term, the amount of skills and things you could do and learn and make money and build a career. But because it's so ingrained into everyone's head to terminally consume what's being provided for you, half term comes, summer holiday comes, you just haven't got a clue what to do with yourself. You sit there and hope that mum's going to fill up your day. And if not, you end up down a path of depression. That's where you end up depressed. What do? You search for something, you find something else to consume. You don't have the routine. You don't have something that's distracting you. So you go to something to consume to distract you. Where do you go? Netflix, go out with friends, your circle, eat shit food, scroll social media, watch YouTubers, the list goes. You always end back at consumption. No one goes to a desk and decides, what can I create? How can I train my critical thinking? How can I empty my mind of the clogging of constantly consuming this, that, and the other, and try and channel my energy into building something to create me a new reality? Here is one of my final statements before I give you the summary and value to take. If you do nothing but consume all day, every day, your reality already exists. I'm going to say it again. If you do, listen, most of you won't have understood that fully. If you do nothing but consume all day, every day, what already exists, your reality already exists. What that means is your life as you know it now is going to stay the same. You will just grow. You will end up in a new routine, a different version of the same thing. You're not going to create anything new. If you empty your mind, get rid of what you consume, become self-aware of how you have been conditioned and how you are constantly being conditioned by what you're consuming. I'm conditioning you right now all this stuff can be good and bad. If you become aware of your thoughts and then understand that those thoughts you decide on becomes your reality via action, become aware of it, change these, change this, create a different reality. Now let me put it for you visually on the board. What happens if you don't ever create? What do you end up? Where do we say creation is? You guys remember where did we say creation is? Look at the board. It was there, yeah? This arrow, that's where we create. We can create, ideally, we want to be creating new actions to create a new reality. But what happens if you don't create? Where does the process end? Thoughts. You just sit and think. All you do. So let's say you want to create, but if you don't actually come up with a plan and take action, all you do is think. You sit and think. And that right there is 99% of people's life destroyer. Consumption and the lack of transition onto creation. The lack of self-awareness, the lack of training and improving your ability to critically think, analyze yourself, analyze your day, analyze your experiences, and change your thoughts, therefore your actions, therefore your reality. Now, most people aren't that terrible thing what I was just describing there. So consume like a dumbass, can be conditioned, have the thoughts, straight away take the thoughts onto action and just go through that reality. Most people are here, especially now. Lots of people are waking up with their reality. Social media is exposing a lot of good things and making people aware of a lot of things they can be doing and didn't realize 40, 50 years ago. But now people are here and they're thinking. Most people know what they need to do. Most people have a rough idea of what they need to change in their life. They know what their little bad habits are. They know they procrastinate too much. They know they consume too much, but they're too consumed by consumption to ever get anywhere near creating. What is something like procrastination? What is it? Think. Let's give the classic example, all right? I don't know how old you are. You could be a school student. You could be a 50-year-old at your 9 to 5. What's the classic example of procrastination? A task that you need to do. So let's go desk and laptop, just so the whole demographic can relate. Desk and laptop. You need to do that task, whatever it is. What's procrastinate? What do? Pick up a phone. Fiddle. Consume. You find the most pathetic thing to consume just so you wouldn't think, critically think, apply yourself. If it's at your job, how can I do this the best possible way, better than all these other employees in here so I can get that promotion? No, you've been here for 15 years. The formula's been working till now. I'll keep doing the same thing. Just going to do this. Yeah, task, send it off to my boss. Done. Calm. I'll go home. Calm. What do you do in school? I think Miss going to be happy with that. Calm. ChatGPT, yeah, AI checker to make sure it doesn't get AI detected. Yeah, calm. Miss is going to be alright with that. Send it off. Done. You don't sit there and think, how can I make this task insane? What do I want to do in my life? How can I flipping hate what I'm doing. Let's say you hate what you're doing. How can I do this task and get some kind of brain development for it that I can use later on in what I actually want to do in my life? No, what do? You just sit there, go on your phone, waste time by. A 1 hour task lasts 12 hours. So it's ironic, really, when you think about it, the very thing we need to do to end up in our creation phase is consume. In order to be able to create, you need to have something in your brain. You need to be able to apply yourself. So you need to experience and see and hear and watch things. But also, a lot of that is what ends up blocking us from being able to progress into creation. But perhaps that's literal physical proof of why we need to experience bad things in life in order to learn and grow. Maybe that's why tough times create success. Why would we ever need to be forced or pushed into trying to create and change and adapt and grow and learn if we hadn't gone through these things that we've been through, good or bad? So actually, if we were to look at the timeline of the entirety of someone's life, they would actually, I mean, I don't know if any of this makes sense anymore, but I'm hoping that my words are doing the job. But if we look at the timeline of someone's life, they would literally be going just up, down, down, up and down this scale. Consume something, condition me thoughts, change it, back up, new thoughts, recondition. You can keep reprogramming your brain, consume something new. Then you can simultaneously consume and have a thought about something else and be conditioned about something else and whilst taking action on something else. Your whole life, you're going up, down, up, down, up, down, these four things. But in each cycle, learning a new thing. So consuming and having our head filled with things and noise, whatever that may be, prevents us from being able to create. But each time and in each cycle, learning a new thing. So consuming and having our head filled with things and noise, whatever it is, good or bad, prevents us from being able to create. Now, fun, quick scientific fact for you guys. This is why humans are not cognitively capable of simultaneously creating and consuming. We cannot watch a movie and write a story. You can speed up the transition between swapping between the two things and jump from one another if you really train it and practice it and constantly try to do two things simultaneously. But you cannot do them at the very same time. You cannot write that story and think about a story that doesn't exist and put it into words on the paper whilst watching the movie and listening to what the characters are saying and thinking about what might happen in that movie and what is exactly happening in the scene and what kind of emotion the actor is trying to portray. You can't do those two things at the same time. Our brains, we do not possess the biological capability in our brains to use the brainwaves for consumption and the brainwaves for creation at the same time. You have to do one at one time and the other at another time. So what does that mean? That means you cannot change your reality or improve your life or work for a better new future for as long as you're listening to someone else's story about what happened at the weekend and filling your head with stupidities about what he or she was up to and their problems in life, for as long as you're watching what some celebrity's doing in LA and comparing their life to yours and coming up with bullshit in your head about how lucky they are because they were born there and how unlucky you are, as true as it may be. It's useless for you for as long as you're watching stupid TV shows, clogging your head with brain rot, useless entertainment crap. For as long as you're watching what your mates are doing and filling your head with jealousy and comparison and hatred and whatever it may be and looking at who's on what holiday on Instagram. For as long as you're watching the news, reading the paper, reading magazines and being filled with fear. 99% of people's lives is one big combination of all of that all day. Who the fuck is gonna create a business with all that? In here, think from consuming the list of things they need to do at school or work, simply consuming the instructions and doing it, all the way to those things I just listed that they do at home. For as long as your brain is filled with all of that, as well as the consequences that come from all of those things. Don't think that you can watch a TV show or a podcast and then just eliminate it and move. No, it doesn't work like that. If you're going to consume things, you're going to have to assume that your brain is going to create step 2 and step 3 of that after you think you're done. For as long as you're doing that, you cannot come up with a fantastic new business idea. You cannot create a new marketing strategy. You cannot create a routine for yourself. You cannot design a website. You cannot come up with content ideas for your brand or your channel. You cannot create a plan to fix your marriage with your partner. You cannot create interesting, innovative, fun new ideas to impress your crush. It applies to absolutely anything that requires analysis of a situation that we are consuming, critical thinking to make a change, and creative brainwaves to make a new plan of action and create a new reality, a different one to what you don't know. You need to empty your life from all of that crap. These things I mentioned, like stupid friends, social media, TV, gaming, fast food, whatever it is, okay? I know that I've listed all the buzzwords of social media, but all the other things we can consume, if you can eliminate toxic people from your life, that does you great as well. Eat healthier, preserve your mental state, watch what you're consuming on the net, take more notice to who's spending time in your social circles. It doesn't matter if you're close, if you text him or her only one day a week versus your bestie who you text 7 days a week. He's still in your life. If you know someone's having a bad impact on you, no matter how small you think it is, it's not small. Cut it off. Any of those things generally are referred to as distractions, right? That's the kind of buzzword we use, the distractions. Get rid of the distractions. How many times have you heard that? What they actually are, in more specific terms, according to what we've learned this lesson, it's literally an occupier of the part of your brain you need in order to be able to create things. Everyone is creative, everyone can create, but we don't have the knowledge nor the push from our role models to work on it when growing up. All we're told is to listen, read, accept, follow, copy, watch, consume. This is why it's so important to let children go off and make mistakes. That's them creating something in their brain. If they hurt themselves or fail or make a fool out of themselves, that's fine. But what do we tell them when one of those things happen? When they fall, hurt themselves, make a fool out of themselves. What do we say? Or fail? What do we tell them? We say, you'll learn. What's that? Conditioning. All right? They consumed the failure. They consumed being made look like a mug in front of the class or the kids out in the street, fell on his ass. I don't flip him over. Everyone laughed at him, yeah. He consumed that. He felt embarrassed. He hurt his knee. What other things did we say? He failed, okay? He's playing under 10s Sunday League and he missed a penalty. All right, he consumed that. He failed the penalty. Let them fail, let them hurt themselves, let them make mistakes. It's conditioning them. And then what happens if you let them try again and they create new thoughts? Last time I hurt myself. Last time everyone laughed at me. I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen this time. Create and do a new action, create a new action, create a different reality. Sure, he might fail again, but generally speaking, he's going to be thinking, but he can only think. The child can only peacefully think, learn, remember, apply, and attempt to apply critical thinking and make a change is if his brain is clear. And that reality that he will have created for himself won't hurt him, won't ridicule him, and won't feel like a failure. And that is what 99% of children do not have and carry into adulthood and prevents them from being able to progress for the rest of their life. What I've learned becoming an adult is looking at 50, 60, 70-year-olds as 10-year-olds who haven't learned anything in adult bodies. I see it now. As a kid, you look at all these adults, you look at the old people, you look at people standing behind the tills and you think they've got their life together. You think that one day you just turn 26 and 35 and you're just an adult now. It's all sorted. All that kid rubbish is gone. No. What you do as a child, if you don't put an end to it and consciously try to make a change, recognize, create a different reality, will stay with you until you go to the deathbed. So a lot of you, I imagine, are those children who haven't been taught how to critically think and haven't been trained and pushed into the importance of creation. That's why you have to do it now. The time to change is now. And the first thing that will guide your brain, literally guide it instinctively without any effort from you into creation, is by putting effort into eliminating the crap consumption from your life. Clean up your food, get rid of your shit friends, get rid of noise where possible, get rid of the toxic partner who does your nutting 24/7, get rid of the shit social media, get rid of the doom scrolling crap. Take social media as an example. Identify first in your head, why do you want that social media? Why do you want it? Ask yourself that. Why am I watching these videos? Is it because the FYP or these people or this TikToker, this beauty influencer fills a hole in my life and distracts me from filling that hole with creation? Am I just filling it with some consumption because I've got a hole because of this shit? And then work out, can you consume it positively to access good people or to learn from videos like mine? Then fantastic. But until then, limit it as much as possible and start becoming in tune with your thoughts. Practice things like meditation, clear your mind and open up your doors to potential creation, which will allow you to be the creative human each and every one of us was supposed to be from birth, ranging all the way from creating the dream business you never imagined you'd take a single step towards, to changing your future and your reality to alter the things that have caused you chaos in your mind from your upbringing or past experiences. So the value to take from this video is everybody can be creative and create, ranging from creating a business idea to doing a drawing, to creating a new routine for your children to improve their organization, to creating a cooking regime for yourself so you decrease the amount of takeaway. All of it requires assessment of a situation and critical thinking. But regardless of what you've been through, regardless of your current situation, and also regardless of what is still in store for you, your ability to change your life and create the new, different reality you want is determined by the amount of short-term pleasure and consumption in your life you're willing to sacrifice to enable you to become in tune with your thoughts, analyze and get to know your life and situation better than ever with a clear mind, and therefore build your ability to critically think, take action accordingly, create a better, more improved version of yourself and your life as you know. Subscribe to my YouTube for full lessons, and you've also got more exclusive lessons on self-improvement, mindset, philosophy, business, and earning money on Winners Academy.